Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our first review session for 201A Business Analytics. I think the course has been retitled into a longer name, but Business Analytics is what it's been called previously. So how have you been so far, everyone? Any questions and comments? Well,
So far, so good.
I'm so excited to see so many of you. Since the review sessions are not required for any grades, I sometimes students wouldn't have lots of motivation to participate. And for your session, what's been very different is that I see so many of you are here. So let's get started.
Excuse me, before you start, is there
Okay.
any waiting room that people are waiting? Because it seems like a couple of people cannot join in.
No, I didn't set up any waiting room. So once you click
Okay.
the link on Canvas or wherever you got it, they should be automatically allowed in the in our Zoom session. So do you know any specific students who are waiting to join the session?
Yes, I'm gonna message them how to reach directly then. Thank you. We can start.
Okay, sure. Let me simply paste the link in the comment. So clicking the comment opens another web page. Then you can also copy and paste the link to other students. All right, I already added the Zoom link in our chat. Unfortunately, Zoom never allows copy and pasting from the chat section, which is very inconvenient for me. But I hope that's why I'm going to use my screen share to show you that I will continuously use a Google Doc for the notes I use during review sessions. And we will also use screen sharing a lot from you when you have questions, because that's the most effective way for me to and for other students to participate in a review session of Excel operation, because it highly depends on the specific buttons and procedures you use. So without looking at your screen, I would find it very hard to spot any errors and to show you how to do certain operations correctly. All right. I just shared my screen of a very simple notes. I would have to share, create a link, maybe right now. Then it should allow easier viewing from your side. Let's see. I think the share link is here. Oh, great. Copy link. Well, let me just add the link to our chat room. Link to notes. So some general logistics about the review session. While this course was designed for students who may not have any statistical background, but there are other expectations I hope you would do before joining the session, which is to do the homework assignment before attending the review sessions. That's the best way I can help you. Without you doing the homework questions before, then you will have very few hours left to complete all the weekly homework questions. It'll be too much pressure. And another thing is, if during the review session it's your first time to see the homework questions, then I don't believe it's easy to absorb all the information while trying to find all the correct operations you need to do in Excel. So please do the homework assignments before attending our review sessions. And that it occurs to me that I would ask for you whether this Monday evening is the best time, because previously there were students who found that a review session right before the homework due time is good, while some others didn't find it to be the best because they wanted the review session to be held maybe a few days before the due date of homework questions. So what's your ideas? You could comment in the review session, in the comment area, whether this Monday evening time is best for a review session. Another potential time would be Friday evening. Then you will have another 3 or 4 days to complete the homework questions. So feel free to let me know in the chat area. Okay. Then I'll take a look later to see how the answers vary between you. Next one, I also expect you to bring questions to the review sessions. Quiet time would be not the ideal style for our review session. So feel free to stop me anytime when you come to a question during our discussion. And more importantly, prepare these questions before attending the review sessions. While doing the homework questions, I'm sure some of you will find some of the questions more challenging than others. And specifically, there are certain alternative operations and methods and approaches that you may find plausible, but you may not be sure whether it's the correct way to do so. So these are the particular moments that's worth recording. So make a note of such incidents, then bring these questions to me and to share with other students. And maybe they are not, you are more than likely not the only one that would have such a question. So never feel embarrassed asking any type of questions. And I will take any of your questions equally. So another expectation, of course, is that active participation is quite important. I will occasionally come up with practice questions that's highly related to our homework questions. They are more like the derivatives of some specific homework questions. But those questions will attack similar questions from different angles, or it will be a related different question, which expand and enhance our statistical learning. Additionally, I would like to share some tips through which students in the same course previously found useful for their success in business analytics learning. First is to take notes in review sessions. That includes how certain questions can be answered either correctly or from alternative approach that will equally address the question. Notes will be also useful to record your Excel operations. Excel, while showing the results in a very appealing way, many times students will find themselves lost because they couldn't recall exactly what they did during their homework questions. doing the homework questions. So afterwards, when they came to my review sessions with questions, they were not sure how they arrived at certain results. So that's why it's very important to first keep a copy of your Excel file potentially at different versions. And the second is if you have diverging decisions at certain operations, the best is to make a note about which check you made and which operations or functions you used, and what are the associated questions with it. Unfortunately, Excel by default does not record all your operations or present you with a script showing all the operations you did so far. So that's why taking extra notes should be helpful. And a third tip is that you may be amazed that how most statistical information can be found online, including on Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is actually usually very accurate in terms of the statistical pages they use. For example, I was using the Wikipedia to show to students what confidence intervals was, and what are the correct and incorrect ways to understand a confidence interval, which is a important term we will learn in a few weeks. In a future lecture by Professor Thomas Apple, you will be introduced to this confidence interval, which is related to hypothesis testing and regression models. So from public pages such as Wikipedia, you will actually find lots of information in terms of the correct ways and incorrect ways of understanding certain statistical concepts. For example, common misunderstandings, just as an example. And last part about the logistics is the review sessions will follow a similar agenda for each session. In the beginning, I will collect questions from you. Then next, I will go into the questions by addressing these questions from Excel demonstration. During the demonstration, many times it's possible that I require some volunteers to share your screen instead of me replicating all the necessary procedures. So that's also a way that I can learn how you did it to find whether there were any problems associated with the approach. The third one is that we will practice complementary and additional questions. And if time allows, I will also introduce more advanced techniques that's appropriate for certain types of data. It's this last part, introduction to more advanced techniques, is not required for any part of the course, but I consider it quite important to open the horizon for additional techniques and methods for statistical analysis. It will be a very shallow introduction, so but it's once you know the key terms of certain methods and you know where it will be helpful, then when the situation applies, you could learn more through the concepts I provide. Any questions and feedback so far about the logistics I designed for the review session?
No, that was very well put. Thank you.
All right, and great. Let's go to our first week introduction. I did not have a complete note for this one, but what I found useful through previous review sessions in last year, in last year's same course is that we did an introduction to our background, which helped me understand how the diversity can be in our class, so I can be more prepared for future questions and answers. So I will start by introducing myself through my professional background, especially those parts that's related to statistical analysis. Well, to be honest, most of my professional projects, they are essentially all statistical analysis projects. And second question is about how comfortable you are with Excel. I should luckily I can also address this question myself. And third part is how have you used statistical analysis at work? So fourth is how you plan to apply data analysis skills at work in the future. So let's start from myself. Okay. Oh, I see. Let me find my resume so I can have some example projects I can use. Ah, perfect. It's right here. So I'm currently a PhD student. My major is transportation science. I had a urban planning background. So I have worked as a senior consultant at an airport analytics firm. And currently I'm also working as a freelancer for data science and economic consulting. But before then, I was a data analyst at the Seattle DOT. And what else? Okay, I also worked as data analyst in other agencies. But let's see what projects would be relevant here. I think, okay. A very interesting project I did, which purely used Excel without any other tools, was one of my earliest project, which is this one. I surveyed local residents in a tourism city called Hangzhou in China. I used Excel to make some frequency charts, and which illustrates their leisure behavior, how they used their leisure time, and what activities they were involved. So that got my first publication in an academic journal, which is somewhat surprising for me at this moment, because now most of my projects require somewhat more advanced tools and techniques. So for example, in a latest project, I helped another MBA student that was enrolled 1 year ahead of you, I believe, on their statistical analysis for this. This one, yes. They did an experiment to test their specific processing procedure of human milk, and they want to compare it with the industrial industrial standard. So there are two groups. One group of infants that used this new type of human milk, while the other group, the control group, used the previously standard industrial standards of Holder pasteurization of human milk instead. So we used one technique we used in this analysis is what we will learn in a few weeks, called t-test. which is a very commonly used test of continuous data between two groups to see whether there's any statistical difference between these two groups. And the difference we were trying to find in this specific study was growth rate of infants. So how much percent in body weight is in growth between consecutive days. So I applied statistical learning throughout what I learned in courses and what I learned myself in a variety of different projects, including some marketing channels on user conversion of Redfin for this particular study, which is a real estate transaction platform. I also made a study about turbine failure prediction, which is a categorical analysis of classification problems. So back to our question, last question. Well, I would have to apply my data analysis skills in the future because I'm currently seeking jobs, although it's not that easy, especially considering I think the latest statistic was that 70% of Americans expect that 2023 would be on a downturn, which is not a good sign. Plus that I'm also an international student, which also provides another barrier in terms of job seeking in the US market. All right, I will pass on to one of you to give us a short introduction about how about statistics with you. Any first one that want to?
I can go, Jerry.
Great. That was Stephen, right?
Yeah, great introduction. So part of my role, part of my team is actually, we do a lot of reports and analytics for UCI.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but it's hard because behind the scenes, I don't know if you're familiar, our data structures and sources are all over the place. And we're constantly putting data together in ways that we have to recreate every time. And we're not alone. Office of Institutional Research has this problem. We have this problem, payroll, academic personnel. So I'm really hoping to get a more insights on how to standardize these processes. We are working on a data transformation project right now to combine all HR data, I should say, not just HR, from our PPS, if you're familiar with that, to UC Path, and then create a baseline for all units to then build on top of that. So this is great timing. Ideally, we could have hired the person ahead of time so they could have helped me do my homework, but that would be unethical. But we're looking to staff that up and the open recs out there. So this is a really great time to get some more context.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So may I also know that, did you mean that you were in the HR department of UC Irvine?
I am, yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So have you used statistical analysis at work so far?
No, not the stat side. We're really, we do some interesting reporting, but we're really on the kind of trending analysis with hires, terms, and really elementary stuff to what we're looking at here.
Oh, I see.
But
and
ideally, that's where we want to go into just predictive analysis because we have so much data, but it's so hard to kind of.
Okay. And may I also know how comfortable you are with Excel?
Very comfortable. I've had to use Excel when I thought I should use something else, but I continually go back to Excel. But I use Tableau a lot, which I like.
Okay.
And we use, I've used SAS before. Access and SQL are things that I use a lot as well.
Oh, cool. Then it seems you should be quite okay with this course. I hope so.
I hope so. Otherwise, I'm not going to tell my coworkers or my team.
Just a short comment. In your case, if you have a large database of all sorts of data, what's most important in processing the data may not be statistical analysis. Instead, it's data processing. And you would instead need some database management skills, which is normally related to SQL querying. But there are still statistical tools you can use, which allows you to do the data processing of databases directly. So you could write scripts. For example, I would use R to connect to databases and do all the process of my scripts. So it records every and each step, which is pretty good.
And then that's well said. Unfortunately, I don't have the time, but we are looking to bring somebody on to help us do that. And then we're also partnering with OIT to, this is a joint venture to get a repeatable process where we can get these scripts done once and for all for the historical data, and then continually refresh that data as it becomes more available.
Wonderful. How about a second student? Thank you, Stephen. Well, how about I have a call out. So on my screen, the next one would be, okay. A new name for me. I'll try to pronounce it and feel free to correct me. It might be Shore.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, without starting my name, I knew you were talking about me. I'm so used to this. It's scaring people with my name. I didn't want to go next because I also work at UCI and I wanted to keep this interesting. So yeah. So Shore Bozorg-Mary, and I work in OIT at UCI, as Stephen just mentioned that. And I'm in charge of a project called Compass, which is comprehensive student analytics, student success analytics.
Wonderful.
And it's picking up a lot of momentum and it's expanding, and a lot of the infrastructure needs to be expanded and tie into every other parts of the analytics that the campus requires for all parts. So this class and a few other analytical classes will really help me to help lead and inform that project. I am not quite comfortable with Excel. I don't need to use it extensively, especially with the formulas, calculations, and math. I use it for just kind of collecting information. So this way of thinking about Excel is very new to me, but I love it, and I'll work hard to be able to leverage Excel more and more in my work. So thank you.
Oh, cool. Wonderful. Thank you. Correct me again. How should I pronounce your name?
You can call me Shore.
Shore. Did I do it right?
Yes.
Okay. I think I did it
I
right.
will
in
go
the
to
first
name
time.
coach and put my name in there, so you can also hear it if you need to. Okay.
Oh, wonderful. How about you help me to call out the third student?
Oh, I get to pick? Oh,
Okay.
boy.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, if
you could pick the one
all
you're
right,
most
I'll pick
familiar with,
Fawn. How
or
about
someone
that?
you're
I pick
least
Fawn.
familiar
I think he
with.
has the toughest skin. I can pick on him.
Let's hope this activity is not the most awkward.
All right, so we're gonna popcorn each other.
Okay. So this is Fuad Sarhangnejad. I am actually in a company as a quality manager. So I do deal with some statistics, but not in a very in-depth. I do use Excel quite often, but it's very limited to the activities that we have to do. Let's say a dump of data and we're trying to do pivot charting, or we wanted to some kind of a reporting analysis that we need to submit, or do some VLOOKUPs trying to match up the data with another data from a different data set, things like that. So not too much in statistical. I've used it in the past. I'm familiar, but I'm not, it's just not, when you're not using it all the time, sometimes it goes away.
Oh, sure. All these things, they take practice. And if you stop using it for a while, then you will forget lots of things, which is why I always depend on my notes. So even if I read some books on R, which is another statistical tool, just like Excel, which I use most often, I even after I thoroughly read some text books and made my notes, after a few months, if I didn't use specific methods, I would most likely forget most of that until the moment I need to use certain methods for a specific project. So statistics takes practice. You're right.
Yes, yes.
All right. So now it's your time to pick the successor.
Oh, okay. So I
sorry.
can pick.
Could I also have your name? Is it pronounced as Ford?
Fuad, yes.
Fuad. Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'll pick Tony Default. Tony Default.
Hello, Tony. It's written as Anthony here. Are you available to speak? I see that you unmuted yourself, but I could not hear you. Okay, maybe
So I can pick someone else.
Yeah, maybe we need to pass to another student. Maybe Anthony or Tony will come back soon.
John Maxwell.
Okay. Hello, John. Oh,
there we go. Sorry, I was unmuting myself.
Hi, John. Welcome to join.
I'm John Maxwell. I'm currently a project manager at Mitsubishi Electric. These questions here, comfortable I am with Excel and other statistical software. Very comfortable on more basic functions. Once it breaks, I kind of just scrap it and then don't worry about trying to fix it and start over. Don't use it a lot. I did previous jobs when I was in the military, used a lot of Excel, did a lot of SQL because we had a lot of different databases that were held on different systems, different levels of classification. So there was a different levels of classification. They two different networks can't talk to each other. So then we had to use SQL to use different standalone databases to do some data analysis for between different classifications. And that's was previous to work. I don't use a lot of it now. I work in the construction industry, and construction industry is notoriously lagging behind any kind of adoption of any kind of technology or data analysis. So that's really what I'm actually really looking forward to, and part of the reason choosing UCI was kind of the forward-thinking digital world, because I think it can be very applicable to the construction industry, and that's kind of it's where I would like to apply some of these data analysis skills in the future. The toolbox in construction industry, no pun intended, usually it's just a hammer, whereas I think with Excel you can use a little bit more refined tools.
Okay, great. So thank you, John. Who would you want to pick for the next?
Well, I would pick someone from my group, but actually I'm going to pick Desiree Thomas, sorry. Des, it's all you.
Hi, I'm Des. Thanks, Sean, for picking me. I was kind of thinking that you were going to, I don't know why. I've been in healthcare for 22 years. I'm a nurse executive. I'm currently working in a hospital setting. That's where I've spent most of my career. From an Excel perspective, I would say, just like John, I'm pretty comfortable with basic functions, but anything more advanced, I'm not used to using that. Statistical analysis at work, I look at a lot of descriptive analytics as it relates to clinical outcomes and program development and driving clinical decision making and those sorts of things, and obviously reviewing studies to evaluate for evidence-based practice, but I'm not doing a lot of that analyzing, looking at the studies on my own. And then how do you plan to apply those in the future? I would say certainly become more comfortable with that. And I've actually been really enjoying learning more about Excel as well. And I'm really interested in predictive analytics and what we can do with that information moving forward.
Oh, wonderful. I have a short comment regarding to the previously 3 students. I'm quite glad that some of you are already very familiar with Excel, which is a good sign, and it will also make my work relatively easier. But I also would like to comment that if you are already quite familiar with Excel, with the basic functions, and if you want to expand your skill for statistical analysis, there might be better tools to use instead of Excel. Although Excel can be still a quite powerful tool. I most often use R because I use it for academic research. But if you're working in industry, most companies would by default require Python skills during job interviews, at least. So these 2, R and Python, might be the next step you will want to learn if you have not. All right, how about Desiree, is that your name? Sorry, to pick the next student. Help me pronounce your name first.
It's Desiree, but I usually go by
Desiree.
Des, but we have another Desiree in the class.
Oh,
and
really?
I will be applying for any jobs that are requiring Python during the job interview. I can promise you that at this juncture. Let's go with Harrison. Are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Thank you, Des. My name's Harrison Lauder. I work in healthcare as well. I'm a physician, a pediatrician. I'm doing my fellowship training at Chalk. And I feel similar to most people who have spoken. My Excel skills, I'm familiar with basic usage. And like Fuad had mentioned, I used Excel in the past in some of my research training, and got more familiar with some of the advanced skills, but that has like fallen away. And as we're reapproaching this class, I'm realizing like none of that stuck with me. And I feel like I'm relearning all of this again, but I'm excited for the opportunity because in my fellowship training right now, I'm participating in a couple research projects that are going to require some statistical analysis. And I think this class is going to be very helpful for that.
Oh, wonderful. Am I right that in healthcare industry, the most commonly used tool for statistical analysis is SAS?
Not in my experience, no.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Somewhat surprising to me.
Yeah, I've used Excel
Okay.
almost exclusively. I have some experience with SPSS. But I'm interested in learning R, but maybe you're convincing me that Python's the way to go.
Oh, depends on who your employer is.
Yeah.
If it's a research institute, R is quite capable or even more capable than Python in many areas.
Yeah.
But instead, if you apply it in in industries, then because most of your coworkers are data engineers who only know Python, then that's why Python might be a better tool in this situation.
Great.
But I used in my infant study about the human milk thing, I used R completely for their studies.
Oh, great. Yeah.
All right. Who would you want to pick for the next, Harrison?
Jerry, I don't want to take time away from anybody else, but just as we're coming toward the end of the hour, are we going to have an opportunity to ask you questions about our current homework assignment?
Oh my God, sorry. You pick up a very good question. Okay. Yeah, I should check the time more carefully. Right. let's go to the homework question first. Then we can leave other things in the next session. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks, Jerry.
So, all right. First, any homework questions?
Hi, Jerry. This is Genevieve. In regards to the homework, it seemed pretty straightforward, and I am not an avid Excel user at all. I simply stick to the basics, which is just filters. I found the homework answers just by using filters, but after attending class this past weekend, pivot tables, all of this stuff, I'm not an avid user. So is there a simpler way to get those answers? I found it quite simple with just using filters, but I mean, everyone else on the call seems to be way more advanced. And is there a different way just to find it so much quicker than using filters?
Quicker than using filters? No, I don't. I think actually filter is the fastest way to do so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'm just trying to learn different methods, so I appreciate that.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, I understand that the first two questions are more about feedback and reflection, right? So only the last and third question was about any Excel operations. And to solve that, this question, I think it was about to pick any euro values, right? And what? Oh, sorry. Could you remind me your name? Your first name was capitalized SG. So she already found a
It's
very
Genevieve.
convenient.
Yeah, it's
Genevieve?
Genevieve.
The way to use a filter is quite okay. So for example, you could click this first row and use, well.
No, and I know how to, that's what I'm saying. That's the extent of my experience is putting filters. That's it. So everyone.
Jerry,
Oh, wonderful.
Jerry, we'd love to keep watching you in case some of us might not know how to use filters.
Oh, thank you, Harrison. Appreciate that.
Should I
thought it was at
assume
the
that
bottom of the learning curve.
Should I assume most of you are okay with how to use filters? If you want me to demonstrate, feel free to.
Yes, Jerry, please demonstrate.
Please do. Okay, sure. Yeah, I understand most of you are very busy with work all the time, so you may not have enough time to do all the procedures. So filters is a tool that you can find unique values arranged in a column. So it can be found in this editing section. There's a sort and filter. And if you select the first row, highlight the first row, then go to filter. That's how you end up with all these arrows. And through these, you will find all the unique values are listed. So if you deselect all of them, you will find and select instead a specific value. So it will only show the rows that has a 0 value. So if this means it's a subset of all the records of transactions that has an annual charge of $0. Any questions about this part? So I have a question for you. How did you determine which values should be considered abnormal? Any tentative answers?
If you went, for instance, to years of post high school,
okay,
and you used a filter from A to Z, is what I did.
Okay.
And I believe it came up with 139 years of years of post high school education, which is obviously impossible, which it should be at the end, right? 139 years should be the last record.
Great. Daniel just found a value that he considered abnormal, which is 130 years of post high school education. So this gives us a hint that when analyzing any data, it's first very important to see and view what the data looks like by, for example, a frequency table. This is how a frequency table could be constructed because, for example, for this variable years of the post-high school education, we have observed values between 0 and 5, and the largest would be 130, which is abnormal, of course. No one lives that long. I believe so, yes. The longest human lifespan was about 126 years of age, a French woman, I believe. Anyway, first, it's important to look at data before doing any advanced modeling. So it's a very good practice. I saw that another student, Tanya, raised hand. Did you have a question?
No, I just use the same technique as Daniel. I would look at the filters and see the numbers, and if there was a blank or a negative, that was easy to identify.
Okay. Have any of you used different approaches to attack this question?
I got my microphone working again. Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Anthony. Yes, I can.
I just did a sort on each column just to see what it would look like, and it kind of, the answers popped out that way too.
Okay, a good way. So different than filter is another function, well, actually button in Excel, which is called sort. So for example, we could use it on house size. So if we want to sort the house size, we go to this ribbon and use sort. You could do A to Z, and which expands the selection. But by default, this goes from the leftmost column. So what's this sorting is the first column, the account number instead. But if we want to sort on specific columns, we need to use this custom sort. So by default, it usually expands its selection to the entire worksheet instead of just one column. Because if you sort one column without moving other associated columns, it will change the sequence of the data, right? So, so for example, instead of the account number, we could sort by household size, by cell values, and from smallest to largest. Because each of the column is a numerical value. So that's why you see smallest to largest. Instead, if a column was composed by characters, letters, or sentences, this order would have an option from A to Z. It will list the, it will sort the cells, or the rows actually, by the letters that begins an entry. So with this, we see that this whole sheet is now sorted from the smallest household size from 1 to the largest, which is 7.
So Jerry, follow up. When I was watching Thomas in class, he did it much quicker and easier. You would just click on C2, for example, and then just hit sort and filter, and it seemed to change every column at the same time.
Great, wonderful input. I rarely used this sort inside of this corner button, but yeah, you just provided a much better and probably easier way. Great. Are there any other questions regarding the homework questions?
I did have a question. Once you sort it that way, that should automatically bring that account number up next to the error in the data, correct? Like if you searched for years of post high school and it comes up 130, shouldn't the account number come up next to it?
Yes, these are the associated account number.
Okay, so they don't.
Yeah. So that's why in the beginning, if you want to make sure, just so Excel doesn't misunderstand you, you should select the whole sheet instead of a single column. If you select one column, for example, only the years of post-high school education, and if you go to sort, it will prompt a warning saying that whether you want to expand the selection to the entire sheet. If you instead continue with the current selection, then this will break the link between different columns. Did I address your question successfully? Well, I hope so. Then I believe this first assignment should be not too challenging. And the last question, you already learned several different ways, thanks to our wonderful contributing students about how to use sort and filter to find abnormal values. I would also provide a hint that you could also do this by building a pivot table. I noticed that during the introduction that at least one of you know how to build a pivot table already. If you have not learned about pivot table, I encourage you to go to our course website. There's a link to the Google Sheet and book prepared by our professor in this tab. And here we will find the maybe two, I think there are two reference menus about Excel operations. Yes, here, these two. So you will find inside how to build a pivot table, which is quite useful to result in a frequency table, which will also list all the unique values, including the smallest, largest, and empty values in a column in Excel file. So to sum up, the pivot table is also a very useful tool for data exploration. I would hope to see you again next week at the same time. If your comment doesn't reflect a different best time for.
We have a comment. Can you show us the pivot tables if there's time?
Well, we are ending the meeting, unfortunately, but it's quite a straightforward way. The best is to follow the menu and to find all the potential buttons and options you can use to build a pivot table. Anyway, this is not required for our first homework assignment, but it may come up handy for future homework assignment where you may be required to build a frequency table. Oh, I'm just looking into the comment area. Someone mentioned about Power BI. I noticed that there's a huge distinction or disparity between employers about what tools they may or may not require. Power BI is a competitor with Tableau. Some companies, I see that they hire specifically Tableau developers. And while other companies, I see that, oh, we require Power BI experience. So it really depends on your employer. All right, it's the time to end our first review session. And next time I would keep track of time more intentionally And hopefully we can also complete the introduction part of the rest of you. So I know your needs and demands better. And hope you have a wonderful Monday.
Awesome, Jerry. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, Jerry. You were great.
Same here. Bye, Stephen.
Good job.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thanks, Jerry.
Great job.
Is
Thank
there
you
any
for your time.
student at home?
Thank you.
Well, I hope to know more of you next time.
You got
Well,
it.
you